Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Candid Convos, and today's guest is Leah Miller. Leah, thank you for joining us. But can you please let us know the type of work that you do for our listeners out there?
So I offer financial consulting, fractional CFO services, primarily for law firms is what I specialize in because that's what my background is in, as well as some bookkeeping services for law firms. So my goal is to just give law firm owners financial peace and help ease their anxiety around all of their financials.
Okay, so let us get an idea. How do you do this? How do you accomplish this? The type of exercises that you run with law firm owners?
So mostly when I meet with my clients, we go over their goals because everybody's financials are different when it comes to, what your goals are. And so all firm owners have different goals. And so we kind of start there. And then we look at your historical data, your profit and loss, balance sheet, those kinds of things. And then we start thinking about the future and, what does your cash flow look like? And so for law firms specifically, especially firms that run on a contingency fee basis, it's hard to kind of predict that cash flow sometimes. And so I'm there to kind of help them figure out, what are we looking at 6 months from now? What are we looking at a year from now? And so they can make strategic, intentional decisions for their firm and their finances.
Okay. So this is something that I've learned recently is just look at the money, right?
Yeah.
Look at the money. It's going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you where your efforts are at. It's going to make you realize the state of your company at the same time. You're going to have to pay a lot of attention to what happens next because a lot of questions start coming when you look at the money. I'm wondering what type of situations do you deal with the most? Like the type of practice area that you work with mainly? Is there any a standard format getting to know who you are and the services that you offer?
So a lot of times I work with firms that are, at the $1 million of revenue mark and up. They have to be firms that are looking for growth. And so, when you start as a solo attorney and you're kind of building it up, you mostly make gut decisions for yourself and you don't have a staff or anything like that. And you slowly start building. And so those attorneys that their firms are getting to that 7-figure mark and beyond, they have multiple staff members and they're bringing on associate attorneys. And that's when the financials get really important. And when you kind of have to stop making those gut decisions and start making strategic decisions based on, the financial data and start looking into that a little bit more. And so that's where I, can really help. As far as practice area, I work with clients in all practice areas. My background, I worked at a personal injury law firm in the past. And so I know that really well in the contingency fee part of it. So several of my clients are in that area, but I have a good understanding of all of the different practice areas and how they bill. So
I remember going at one of the biggest legal administrator conventions in the country, right? And the session that had the most attendees, and you got in there and you couldn't even sit down on the floor. There was way too many people crammed up in one room, and it was the biggest room. It was how to work remotely or become a hybrid law firm. And out of the entire people in there, I'm talking about maybe 150 people in a single room. When somebody asks, is any of you guys completely remote? Just one hand rose up. And when they ask who in here tries a hybrid, less than 10. So I know a lot of people are interested in it, but considering the idea can be very, well, I don't think it can. Is either very scary or people are reluctant to this. When all of those fears, people are not going to be productive. There's a reason why we don't do it. Turns out that if you have the right person and if that person has the right qualities, then yes, it can be a profitable arrangement for everybody and super profitable because, and just like the overhead, get rid of that.
Well, and also from a financial standpoint, we're getting to a point where it's very expensive to live. Everybody knows that. And so everybody wants to make more money, but obviously there's a cap on how much the owners can pay because they have their overhead and all of that. And so I think offering a virtual hybrid schedule is not only profitable from a less overhead standpoint, but it's a benefit that you can give your employees if you can't give them more money, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a non-monetary benefit that you can give them. Like, hey, I can't pay you $20 more an hour, but you can work remotely and that's another benefit to it, or you can go live somewhere else and work remotely and things like that. And so it definitely comes into play financially to have those conversations about, working remotely.
Okay, now I got an interesting question. Let's say that you run, because you offer 100% financial advice, and you speak to law firms, and you speak in such a manner that allows them to grow, because you're constantly looking at a big picture. What happens when you run in, when you run into a law firm owner or a law firm that wants to consider all of those points, never in their life have worked remotely, and you are suggesting bringing somebody to work 100% remote? From the financial point of view, why is that profitable for a law firm that could resist or has never toyed with the idea? I'm wondering if that's something you've ran across, or how to respond to that.
I haven't run across that yet, but if I did, I would, start with the overhead, because people think when they hire somebody, it's just a salary, and it's not. There's so much more to having an employee, especially an employee sitting at a desk and, taking up room and things like that. And so from that, like, tactical standpoint, you can save money there. But I also like, if you have happy employees, good employees, and you want to invest in them, and if letting them work remotely is investing in them and giving them a sense of ownership over their position, those are the employees that are going to work harder for you and do better work for you, because you've invested in them and you've given them back, what you want from them in return. And so I'm big on invest in your employees. And if that means looking at a hybrid, schedule and seeing if they can do that, if that's going to keep the good employee that's going to crank out more work and get your cases moving, and you're not going to be hiring somebody every 6 months, then that's more, from a financial standpoint, that's more important than anything else, is just keeping your employees happy. It's so hard right now to get good employees, especially if you don't have the budget to pay over premium hourly wage, salary or whatever it may be. So what else can you do? And I think a virtual schedule is where it's going to be at some point, especially for certain areas of law. It can be done.
Wow. So it's just that it's already happening. Like,
Yeah.
you got to ride that wave. It's already happening for many law firms and for many businesses. So this is a very insightful conversation. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, Leah. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So before we exit, I'm wondering if you have anything that you'd like to state for our listeners out there. For example, if there is a law firm that is meant to work with you, how can they know, like, you're the right person to call when it comes to fractional financial services?
So I post on LinkedIn almost every single day, and I post different financial tips and tricks and things like that for your law firm, operational stuff as well. And so that's where I direct people the most, is to my LinkedIn, because I feel like that's where you can get to know me. If people have questions about any of my posts, they can send me a DM. I will go back and forth with you and have conversations about it. And then I also have my website is lnmfinancial.com, and you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation and we can go over, what I can offer for you and for your law firm. Even if you're not at that 7-figure million mark, contact me, because, I offer bookkeeping, and my bookkeeping I offer is more than just tax bookkeeping. It is financial planning bookkeeping is what I call it. And so I can offer you those services at a, smaller price point that will get you to that, $1 million mark. So if you're under that, everybody should contact me. And I am an open, resource for people, especially on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you very much, Leah. Thank you for letting us know. And also thank you for the conversation. There are a lot of insights in there that I know we and our listeners are going to capitalize on. So I honestly can't.
Thanks for having me.